Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Winning Wednesday. It's your girl, Dominique, Atlanta's nurturing agent, and I am just so excited about today's tip because it has proven to be a relevant tip with the significant amount of deaths that have occurred with the pandemic that we're currently still in. So, today's topic is probate. What is probate? How does it work? And why is it significant to you? Well, as we all know in this life, death is inevitable, and so that is why one is significant to you. But two, let's dive into what it even is. Probate is the legal process by which the courts determine whether or not a will is valid. And so what that means is, for example, let's say someone close to you, God forbid, passes away and they have assets that they need to sell. Those assets will have to always go through the probate courts, right? Because that person passed away and chances are there's a will, and that will identify whom an executor is on that will. And I'm sure you're wondering, well, what's an executor? An executor is someone listed that is appointed to be able to administer the estate. So if the will is valid, there will be an executor on that will, and that executor will administer the estate. Now, if someone passes and they do not create a will, then the courts will appoint a representative to officiate and administer that estate. So when you die with a will, you die intestate. When you die without it, you die testate. So these are terms you can look up if you like, but you may hear them going through this process. So if a person passes and they have a will and they have an executor in that will, that executor will then move forth with allocating how to go about selling the assets or kind of getting those assets sold. So first step to even finding out if a will is valid is getting a petition. You have to file a probate petition to get that probate process started, and you have to do it in the county of the deceased. So if a deceased person passed in Sallie Mae County, you need to go to Sallie Mae County probate office, or Google Sallie Mae probate petition, and then that will give you the form you need to begin to fill out, so that way so you can get started in your probate process to determine if that person had a will and who is listed on that will, not just as the executor, as someone who can administer the estate, but also to see whom beneficiaries are and things of that nature. So you file the petition. Once you file the petition, the courts will get back in touch with you, and then they'll let you know whether or not you are the executor. And what will happen is the objective is to get what's called a grant of probate, which means that you are the executor and you can move forth with officiating this person's estate. And let me just say, pause, I'm not an attorney, so if there are questions or concerns you have about any of this information, it is always best to consult an attorney when it comes to legal advice. I am a real estate agent, and that is my matter of expertise, and so I'm going to give you information based on that realm of expertise I have. And so moving forward, you get the grant of probate, which says that you can move forward with administering this person's account. Now I said it. So you move forward, you get the grant, and you move forward. The next step for you is to get in touch and to notify all beneficiaries and all creditors, and also all interested parties. And what interested parties mean is anyone whom the state would identify of next of kin based on their intestacy laws, you would have to notify. And unfortunately, sometimes that information to notify them, addresses, phone numbers, what have you, if that's not available, you will be asked to place an ad or to place notification in the newspaper. And so just know that that is the next step after you get grant of probate. So after your petition is filed, then you have to notify all creditors, which will come up when you review the deceased person's financial records, any creditors, any beneficiaries, which will be listed in the actual will, and then any beneficiaries, creditors, and interested parties, which would be people whom would be identified as next of kin per your state's intestacy law. So that is something you should probably look up as well, another term that you will hear, just to be sure, and so that you're not caught off guard or caught blindsided by anything. You just want to be sure of the certain terms that you hear. I think I mentioned this already, but if I didn't, if someone dies with a will if someone creates a will before they pass, then they die intestate. If they do not create a will, then they now are considered to have passed to state. So essentially, you would file the petition to kind of gauge whether or not the will is even valid. Your goal is to get a grant of probate from that, so that way you can move forth with administering the person's estate. And then you want to notify the beneficiaries, you want to notify the creditors, and any interested parties, which would be people determined as next of kin per your state's intestacy laws. Once you have notified the proper parties, you can then move forth with determining how best to go about the assets, right? And how best to go about ensuring that the instructions of the will are fulfilled. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about what to do if the asset is property and it needs to be sold. If the asset is property and it needs to be sold, and you have notified all parties, you have been given the grant of probate, then you would then get with a realtor. You would get with a realtor so that way you can get that property on market and get it sold. And you want to get with an experienced realtor. There are actually realtors especially certified or specifically certified in probate matters. And you can look up these realtors by typing in CPRES. These are certified probate real estate specialists. Type that into Google with your zip code and then see what comes up, and select and have a few conversations. Interview, I would say about 3, maybe 4, and then go forth with whom you feel is best for your situation. And then from there, you can go ahead and determine if you want to do renovations, if you want to sell it as is, and just kind of the language that needs to go into the listing itself as well. But essentially, once that's done, once you go with the realtor, you all determine kind of how you want to have the property sold. That would allow you to move forward and to get that piece of the estate closed out. And so this was a quick one-on-one video as to what probate is, why it matters, and then how to go about that should you ever be in this situation where that is something you have to deal with. Again, it's another Winning Wednesday, and I'm your girl Dominique, Atlanta's nurturing agent. Thanks for joining me today. Here's to your winning.